think I set that up correctly so you couldn't do that. And keep your mics muted, unless of course you have a question. Raise your hand, and I think Allison's going to help me try and keep track of the chat and the hands. And with that, we'll get started. The NextGen user group webpage has the form feedback. We're in session 3 today. And if you can go right there and get the link was also attached in the invite with the meeting information. I do believe we didn't put a closing date on the website, but I do think it'll close on the 25th. With that will cover the WFDS login. Just to remind everybody, we're doing these type of sessions because right now INAP and the WFDS NextGen environment is not set up to work together yet. So we can't allow everybody to log into the application. So unfortunately, that's why you have me being the demo monkey for you. So with that, we'll get started. Let me just go over the form real quick. Hopefully it's still there. Bingo. So with the form today, we only have a short series of questions, just talking about the user roles, the new roles we have and how you feel about those, the flattening of the roles, which I'll cover in a minute, and then some stuff about some roles we don't have anymore and get some feedback on that. And then we'd like any other additional comments or things you would like to see in the feedback also. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. Oops. So this is the WFDS NextGen user role focus group. What we're going to do here is go over the new roles. The roles are flattened. They have wider permissions than they used to have in the old application. The roles are additive. So every role builds on a previous role, and the role above it will have it's a hierarchy. So it'll just automatically have all the roles the previous role had. User roles users will only have to have one role now in the application instead of like, old WFDS. I think I had 5 or 7 at one point. It was a lot. And the application roles are all going to be controlled through INAP. So since we don't have INAP working, this is also why we can't get folks in the system yet. So with that, some roles that are now deprecated from the old WFDS, the dispatcher role will no longer be needed. NextGen is only ingesting incidents from Irwin. You can't create incidents manually in the production model anymore. You can in training, of course, because you got to make your fake incidents to do training, right? The data manager will no longer be needed. There will be a spatial fire planning service, and that data will get migrated into WFDS automatically from that other service. And the administrator role, which used to be like, a handful of people, are no longer necessary because a lot of the roles that the administrators used to do are no longer a problem. With these wider roles and permissions, things are a little bit easier. So what roles are in WFDS NextGen? There's a viewer role, which was basically the anonymous role in the old classic WFDS. And they only have access to their own profile. They're automatically granted, just like the other WFDS application was, if you have a .gov or certain series of emails allowed automatic granting of these kind of roles or an account. It's basically a parking lot waiting for people to get promoted by GA editor. So after the viewer role, the first role you would get would be an incident editor. In the previous version of WFDS, it was the author role. They can initiate incidents anywhere in the nation. So if there's a fire in Florida and I'm sitting in the Southwest, I can go help those guys and initiate the incident and start the process for them. And the incident editors can also request fire behavior analysis. So pretty simple. And then the next role after that, the fire behavior analyst, which was also in the regular old WFDS. So they can accept fire behavior analyses, request, or create new ones. They can edit, delete, and delete their own analyses. They can't delete anyone else's. However, they can copy anyone's. Oh, I see I was correcting typos in this. They can copy anyone's analyses. So anyone else in the system, any other fire behavior analyst, another fire behavior analyst can copy their analysis. So that's kind of handy. And they're implicit collaborators on all incidents. So what that means, we'll just back up to the incident editor. So the incident editor is the lead collaborator on an incident decision in the process. So this is how the roles are additive. So now the fire behavior analyst can do everything the incident editor can do below it. So they can get in and add content as needed. So moving on, and this is my last slide. We have a geographic area editor still. It's no longer constrained to the GA. It now has national permissions. So it's a little bit more like the national editor role used to be, which is also another deprecated role from the old WFDSS. And I see a bunch of questions. I'll be there in a second. They'll be responsible for granting roles in the INAP application, and they can also disable and re-enable users in INAP. So that's the geographic area editor. Now the support role, which is a little bit higher, so they can do everything below the GA editor and below. So they can send the broadcast messages and emails, many of which you see from Morgan right now and used to see from me in the past. They can update the MPL. And I asked a question about what MPL was to make sure, but I do believe it's the national preparedness level. We used to scrape it off a website, and I bet they can't do that anymore. So somebody's going to have to go in there and toggle that manually. They can view the message queue, and they can edit other users' profiles. So it's kind of everything the help desk will need to do, as well as probably some higher level business leads and stuff like that. It's a quick and dirty on the user roles. So now let's go back and see what's going on in the chat. And the web page link isn't working for Peter. Let's go back and double check and see what's going on in that.
Marlena, I think we're good. We a couple of us sent some links to have folks try. So I think we're good in the chat.
Are there any other questions? Yes, fire behavior specialists will be able to delete their own analyses. So yes.
Hey, Marlena, if GA editors aren't constrained to a single GA anymore, how are we going to manage requests for access to the system and role granting and that kind of thing? Is that going to be just first come, first serve kind of thing, or are they going to go out still by GA somehow? Just not, I don't know. I'm just curious.
Some devils in the details that I'm not sure I'll work out yet.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I'll make sure it's on the list so that it doesn't get skipped.
Okay.
And will they be able to reset passwords in INAP? That's another I'm not sure, because I don't have a good understanding how INAP works. I would think not, because currently when I'm personally using INAP, I have to go to the help desk if I really get tangled up and can't reset my own password. But I'll make a follow-up question and make sure that that gets answered in the future. See, how are approvers assigned? Approvers are assigned. We'll have another session for that. That gets a little deeper in the application once you have your collaborators and everything, and we'll have another session on how you grant all those different roles that are now needed to approve a decision. So that'll be another session. Thanks, Avi. So if you recently moved to a new GA, well, if you're the GA editor, you don't need to do anything. You can do that whenever. And if you move to a new GA, it's not GA specific anymore. So even if you're back as a incident editor, you can initiate incidents nationwide, and you can be added nationwide. So fire behavior analysts can do everything nationwide. So no GA constraints anymore.
Thanks.
Problem. Other incident privileges and user roles. Well, there's really incident privileges is a thing of the past, and that'll get more covered when I do a session on that whole incident perspective. So we'll dive into that a little bit more. So if you're an incident editor, again, you can collaborate on any incident anywhere. You just have to be added as a collaborator. So it's more of a collaborator now instead of incident privileges. Like I said, the fire behavior analysts are implicit collaborators on all incidents. So they can add content to any incident. The best practice would be to make sure you're a collaborator on the incident, just so it's documented. Let's see, what role does an approver need at minimum? Well, viewer doesn't really do anything, so the minimum they need to be an incident editor. Is like we said, viewer role now is a parking lot until you get approved to use the application. Is there any other questions out there? In a growing incident, if the incident is created as support for another changes made. I guess I'm not totally understanding. To support another, yes, you can change your lead collaborator at any time. The previous lead collaborator can change that, or if you have a fire behavior analyst, which if you have a growing incident, you probably do, they can switch around that lead collaborator as needed. And we will have another session to get deeper into all the nitty gritty on that stuff. Did that kind of answer your question, Christopher? Perfect. Okay. Anything else out there, folks? We request roles or be granted roles based on our roles in the current version. I don't know if they're going to do a legacy swap at this point and grant you what you currently had, or if, like, when we switched over to IROC, we had to go back in there, and WIMS and a couple other things. I had to go back in and get all my access back through INAP. So I would think they're going to be re-granted at this point, since those other applications couldn't do it. I'm not sure if WFDSS has something that will make it easier or not, but if those applications could, I would think WFDSS won't be able to either. And as far as thinking through the whole process, someone had asked about how do you know which GA editor is going to get which request. It's very similar, like trying to get to be have dispatch access in IROC. When you go and ask for that, you got to find the right person. In like, see, this year I had to go through the Southwest Coordination Center to get access. So I had to find Kevin and I had to find Jay. Excuse me 1 second. My office mates are having a problem. Sorry about that. The Chewy order is here. It happens. So with that, when I have to request access to get, even in WIMS, right? I had to find Chuck Maxwell in that system and send my request for my access to him. I would assume it's going to be much like that for WFDS, thinking through the problem a little bit more and getting you a better answer on that. So let's see. We will request roles, or will we be granted roles based on, okay, I think I covered that one. I think you're going to have to go back in, and it might be a busy time for some people granting roles, just like we had to do at IROC. Are the fuel models going to change over to the NFDRS 16? The NFDRS 16, because I'm dealing with it on a different project, I know that's a little bit of a sticky wicket. I'm assuming that all the models will be going to 16. The last time I did have that conversation with Sam. So that's a good question, Reva. Oh, that wasn't your question. That was Christopher's. And yeah, these the video is going to be in the Teams chat, and we'll post them back up here. And I don't know when the models, well, there's Wes, he just answered, that's the plan. I'll be NFDRS 16. But Wes, do you know when the models will be coming out? I think they're going to roll out with WFDS, and that's 2025, correct? That date's been flipping around just a little bit. Yep, and Wes says that is the plan. They're working on FS Pro now, and that's usually how it goes. The user role is going to be the same as incident roles. Well, yeah, basically, if you're an incident editor, you'll be a collaborator once you're working on an incident. So they are calling them collaborators instead of authors and stuff in the new next generation of WFDS. So fire behavior analyst will be the same. So yeah, basically, yeah, if you're an incident editor, you're a collaborator on an incident. Our user role is going to be the same. Yeah. All right. Are there still have owners and approver? You're going to have a lead collaborator. That's kind of replacing the owner, and there will still be an approver, and that'll be covered in another section where you change all those settings and select those people. Okay. With that, well, we'll see if anybody else has any other questions. If you guys could please take the time to fill out the feedback form, that would be awesome. It is helping. There is an option for multiple, no, not multiple leads, but multiple collaborators. So the form is very important. It's helping document the folks who we've been talking to in the field and trying to get feedback from. So it's kind of critical to make sure your agency is represented and provide some feedback here. They are working, they're taking the feedback from Focus Group 1 right now and starting to collect Focus Group 2 and move it into tasks for building out WFDS. So your input is being used. Can I share this presentation in the chat? I will drop it in the chat, but unfortunately only Forest Service folks can get it. And then I'll talk to Sam about maybe posting it on the webpage. Yep, on it, Peter. Thank you. Okay, so we'll have the presentation posted up. I'll talk to Sam about posting up the little PowerPoint. Please fill out the form. And if you guys need anything else or have any other questions, please feel free to drop me a line. It's Marlena, M-A-R-L-E-N-A, Hovorka. And what is it? Marlena.Hovorka@USDA.gov, I guess is my email now. And I'm also using Marlena_Hovorka@firenet.gov. I'll type those in the chat too, just so everybody has them. And with that, I think that's all I have to cover today, unless there's any other questions. Going once, twice. It was always hard during the math sessions to do that pregnant pause. So
Thanks,
with
Mario.
that, thank you and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks.